Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Technical Tim here, and I want to thank everyone so much who's been liking all my videos and subscribing to the channel. And I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up real quick, or subscribe if you haven't already. So I'm going to do a final thoughts video, and if you have any questions along the way, I'll try to get to them at the end of the video. But I'm just going to go through the entire card, and I do have a few plays on this card in general. So I think what I'm going to do is like the ones I really don't have action on, I'm going to kind of dismiss quickly and not go too in depth. But if you have a question about them that maybe I didn't answer, just give me a question at the end. So let's start at the bottom of the card. Mark De La Rosa and Paiva. I don't have action here. I tend to think Paiva is probably the rightful favorite, but I'm just really not interested in playing this fight. I think the odds have come on pretty steep on Paiva. I think he might be like minus 250 now. Let's take a look. Yeah, he's like minus 245, minus 250. So yeah, I'm not interested in playing that. And I don't think De La Rosa produces enough offense to really be too enthusiastic about him either. And then Chason and Shanna Young. So, no action here. I think Chason should be a big favorite, not much to say. And then Casey Kenny and Merab. This is a really interesting fight, and I have action on Merab. I got in on him at like minus 150. The line's kind of been jumping in all over the place, and I just feel like I talked about it in my podcast with Gugabe, and kind of go a little deeper into the numbers. It's just Merab attempts anywhere from his low watermark on his low on takedown attempts has been 8 and his high has been 22. And it's just Borg got 7 of 10 takedowns against Casey Kenny and Bermudez went 3 of 4. So I just feel, and Kenny only attempts like 4 takedowns per 15 minutes, like 3 to 4. So you just have to favor Merab to be shooting more. And I don't think Kenny can really completely dominate anywhere in the fight. Like even on the feet, and I'll get into that in a second, I feel like it will just kind of probably be competitive. And then I don't think Kenny can just dominate with top position on the mat, and he's going to be getting taken down here if Merab fights anything similar. Like if he mirrors any of his other fights, he's just going to be getting takedowns on Kenny. So I just feel like by virtue of that alone, Merab should be a pretty decent favorite. And I do think Kenny's get-ups can work at times. Definitely, I expect them to work early. But I just feel like eventually the cardio and Merab's going to kind of break him down. And it's just the takedowns are going to be landing, so Kenny just really has to kind of like have a clear advantage somewhere to compensate for the takedowns, and I don't see him having a clear advantage anywhere. And on the feet, Merab's actually outdistance struck everyone that he's fought, including Ricky Simone. And I know Ricky Simone's not like a crazy good striker, but Merab doubled him up on the distance strikes, and that's exactly what Rob Font did to Ricky Simone too. So I feel like there's no reason why Merab could maybe even win on the feet. And I tend to maybe even favor him there, but I think either guy can win there. It's just I don't think Kenny can run away with it. So that's kind of the problem I have with Kenny. And another thing I saw on Kenny is we haven't seen him strike much in the UFC because he's faced 2 grapplers, but in that fight with Adam Antolin on the Contender Series, Adam Antolin landed 52% of his strikes thrown. And Kenny kind of just gassed a little, like not like hard gas, but he slowed down. And Merab's going to push a pace, so it's kind of just like Kenny will probably slow down. And he has shown just in the small kind of fights we've seen him on the feet that he can be hit a little bit. It just makes me hesitate to think he can dominate there. I think I'm kind of repeating myself at this point, but I don't know. I just feel like Merab has a clear takedown edge, and I think he might be the better striker even. I wouldn't be surprised if either guy won there. I just don't see Kenny running away with it either, and I feel like he's going to have to run away with it. Um, what else? And Kenny also went like 30 of 100 or 30 of like. Let me pull up the exact numbers so I'm not just throwing shit out of. Give me a second. So I feel like on the feet he'll have to land maybe some head strikes to kind of compensate for the takedown discrepancy. And let me pull up what I had. Might take a minute. Sorry. Yeah, Ancelin landed 87 of 166 total strikes, so he didn't like he attempted a decent amount, but probably not what Merab will. And Kenny went 39 of 182 head strikes in that fight as well. So I feel like he'll have like the fact that he was struggling landing head strikes already, and Merab generally doesn't get hit that much to the head. I just feel like he's going to struggle, and he actually had a lot of success in that fight with low kicks. And if he throws low kicks, that's just going to be there could be a chance that the low kicks are caught and Merab gets him down. And yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at on the striking. But I don't know, maybe Kenny just kind of steamrolls him there. But I don't know. That's just kind of the way I see it. And another thing that I saw in this fight is this will probably be grappling heavy if Merab starts pushing a pace a little bit with the grappling. And in the two grappling heavy fights Kenny had in the UFC, he only landed 43 significant strikes against Bermudez and 32 against Borg. So it shows to me that he doesn't land a lot of strikes while in grappling situations because he's so focused on position. So even if he gets top time, I don't expect him to land a lot of strikes there. And Merab lands a ton of ground strikes. He landed like over 200 strikes against Brad Katona, and it's because a lot of them are ground strikes. So there's a ground striking discrepancy as well. And I do think Kenny can scramble out a lot, but I could see Merab even getting some top time for extended periods as the fight goes. So that's kind of the way I see it. Having said all that, I do think Kenny can maybe pull the Ricky Saenz type of game plan and kind of just get his get-ups going and maybe keep it competitive on the feet and take a close decision. I think that's fully possible. But if he doesn't knock Merab out, I feel like his way to win is just a close fight. So I feel like Merab has a high floor here, and that's why I'm playing him. I like both guys, though. Devin Clark and Daquan Townsend. I tossed Devin Clark in a parlay whenever he was like minus 300. I mean, I think Townsend's kind of... I think Townsend's pretty much KO or bust. I played Lewis against him. It was kind of an interesting, weird little fight, but Clark will probably clinch him up, get some takedowns, and probably win. Townsend may knock him out. That's kind of it. Holtzman and I'll get to your guys' questions in a bit. Holtzman and Jim Miller. I talked about this on the podcast with Gugabe as well. I'm on Holtzman here. The lines come in. You could get him around like minus 130. And I just feel like Miller, I love Jim Miller. He's honestly probably right up there with Damian Maia as one of my favorite fighters, but I feel like he's being a little overvalued because of his quick finishes lately. And anytime I talk about his cardio not looking good in the fights he's gone to a decision, people just kind of say, well, he's got his Lyme disease under control. And it's like, maybe he does, but we don't know that for sure. Like, we still haven't seen him since Trinaldo in a fight that has kind of gone up past the first round, and it didn't look good then. Maybe he did get it under control. But I like that Holtzman, at least I know his cardio will be there, and Miller's may not. Also, I don't, although this is MMA and shit can happen, a club and sub could happen, I think Holtzman will be a tough guy to submit or even just put away. So I expect this fight to play out. I expect Holtzman to be there after the first round. And in a fight that plays out, I just have to favor Holtzman here. He lands way more strikes. He lands over 4 strikes per minute, and Miller's like 2.8 or something. And I just feel like he has the advantage here. And I feel like that pressure is probably going to take over the fight as the fight goes. And a lot of people talk about, well, Nick Lentz wrestled Holtzman. And it's like, yeah, but Nick Lentz, I think, attempted 19 or 20 takedowns in that fight and landed like 5. So Miller attempts like 3 takedowns in a fight. So I don't think, like, if Miller attempted 20 takedowns, he would just be exhausted, and he just can't. That's not realistic for him to do that. And Lentz chains things together and will clinch you up, where Miller's just a straight double. So I just feel like the wrestling path probably won't be there for Miller. It's gonna have to be like a back take path, and I've talked about on that podcast as well. I like the way Holtzman defends back takes, how he turns his hips kind of perpendicular to anticipate a hook coming in, so he could either catch it with an arm or spin out. And I think he's gonna survive. He could get hurt though. A club and sub could happen, but that's kind of it. So I like Holtzman there, and I'm not one of those bettors who kind of thinks my plays are locks. The very opposite. Anytime I bet on someone, their opponent's win conditions are in my mind, and I'm worried about them, and that's why you're just kind of like, but you're really just trying to allocate the percentages and beat the implied percentages. So I just feel like Merab and Holtzman, they're affordable lines, and I feel like we probably have an edge there, but we'll see what happens. Dotson and Nathaniel Wood. I have a small play on Wood. I'm a little less enthusiastic. I'm a little less confident in this play than some of my others. It's really just I'm fading Dotson's activity, and that's pretty much it. I could see Dotson maybe having some success in landing his left hand with his speed. I don't love my play on Wood. I've kind of been like thinking about it, but it's one of those things though where if I like didn't play Wood and he just won a low activity decision where he just outvolumed Dotson, I'd be like, fuck dude, that was the easiest call ever. Where if Dotson just knocks out Wood and I'm on Wood, I wouldn't be as upset, if that makes sense. So yeah, nothing real scientific about that play. I just feel like, and I feel like the leg kick will be there for Wood. He lands a lot of good low damaging leg kicks, and anytime Dotson hasn't fought many leg kickers, but he generally gets landed on at a high rate when people do leg kick. Like Rivera, I think, who was it? Someone landed like 11 of 13 on him, and I feel like that can be a free strike for Wood, and I like that he has a consistent strike he can probably go to in a low output fight. Means and Rodriguez, no play. Medeiros and Venata, no play. My lean's Venata, but it's a little too wild for me to care about that. I just feel like that's a high variance striking fight. Ray Borg and Bontorin. I like Borg here. I got on him. I didn't get on him when he was plus money. A lot of people did. That was a great play by people, but I got on him at like minus 120. And I just think he's a better wrestler, and I think he's a better scrambler, and I like his cardio better. And generally, I'm not going to go too deep here, but I could throw out some stats as well. But he lands he's landed 3 takedowns or more in every single fight he's been in, except against like Demetrius Johnson and Formiga. So I expect the takedowns to land here. And if you look at Bontorin versus Tanaka, if you're betting on Bontorin and haven't seen the Tanaka fight, you should give it a look. But Tanaka dominated him on the mat, and I don't see why Borg can't. That's kind of the way I see it. And the criticism of Borg is always that he's low volume, but he doesn't get landed on himself either. He just kind of forces a grappling fight. All his fights end up just being a grappling fight for really top position. And I expect if Bontorin even lands a few strikes, Borg will just close the distance and kind of stick on you anyway. It's like Kenny couldn't keep separation against Borg, and it just turned into a scramble fest. But Kenny and most fighters who have beaten Borg have a folk style wrestling base, and they know a lot of the base breaking tactics that Borg uses. Where Borg always dominates jiu-jitsu guys with his top position for the most part, because because they're not used to those breakdowns and things like that. And it's one of the main reasons I played Kenny as an underdog against Borg, and that was something I noticed. And Bontorin also, he's a little different than Gabriel Silva, where Gabriel Silva from bottom is constantly going for sweeps and one worked on Borg, where Bontorin will do the occasional sweep, but he also just kind of one of his main get-ups is he'll just play guard, and one of his get-ups will be to use the bottom of his feet, push on the top of your legs to create separation and get up. And I feel like that Borg doesn't always posture up anyway, or Borg will just reshoot if that happens. So that's kind of my reasoning on Borg, and I just expect him to be the guy shooting first in this matchup. But that's a lot of the get-ups that Bontorin got going against Bibulatov. And if you watch against Tanaka, his get-ups weren't working because Tanaka stays chest to chest like Borg generally does, and so he didn't give him the space to do that. Weaver Vargas, no play. De La Rosa Barella, no play. Diego and Pereira. I'm not gonna play this. I think if I were to play it, I would play the dog here in Diego, because I mean, if he just doesn't get finished, he could probably win, and he'll probably take over. But even though he's probably the value side, I just feel like playing live is kind of the smarter thing to do, because if he survives that first round, he might still lose and be an even bigger dog than he was going into the fight. And so you can kind of mitigate that risk early of the first round knockout and then maybe get a better price. And it's just kind of a crazy fight. So I don't know. He could obviously knock Diego out. That's his win condition. But Diego can obviously easily survive and then take over. And then Corey Anderson and Jan. I played Corey as well, and I played him. I got him better than minus 200, so I got him a little lower, and I played him a while ago. I think the line should be wider, and I don't think people are as kind of passionate about that play as me, but I just feel like Jan's kind of KO or bust, and the longer the fight goes, the KO chances probably go down, and I do think, although Corey Anderson doesn't have like the perfect chin at all, it's not a great chin, I don't think it's as bad as people claim. He's had a lot of rounds in the UFC. He's been knocked out a couple times, and it's not like Jan is a ruthless KO puncher. And I just feel like it's really, can Jan knock him out? And I'm willing to say he doesn't do it 3 out of 10 times, you know? So I feel like that probably just makes Anderson the smart play, in my opinion, because that first fight, I know it was a long time ago, but I just don't see how Jan can randomly stop the wrestling below his waist anymore. And like the last time we really saw someone do that was Patrick Cummins in 2017, and Corey Anderson's a way better wrestler than Patrick Cummins. So I just kind of feel like Anderson will eventually get that top time. I expect Jan to maybe even win the first round, but I think eventually Anderson's going to get him, and I expect Anderson to probably get a 10-8 round at some point, because he showed once he gets on top that he can kind of just put it on Jan a little bit. And that first fight was super dominant. I know it was a long time ago, but I don't see like the profiles of their games. I don't see the profiles. I don't think they've changed that much. Like maybe both of them have gotten a little more polished, but I just feel like a similar concept's going to happen here. And Jan could knock him out, but I could live with that. If I play Anderson and he gets knocked out, I could totally live with that. So that's kind of everything. But let's go to the live chat. What's up, guys? Some of you are just saying hi. How's it going, man? seems like not long ago. It seems like not too long ago, Diego was getting knocked out with ease. I get that Pereira is a wild man who has tiny fight IQ, but I'm struggling to see how he doesn't touch Diego's chin. You might be right, but you never know with Michelle either. Like maybe he throws like a spinning kick and ends up on his back or something. The thing is, Michelle can. I actually think he can grapple a little bit whenever he isn't completely burnt out of energy. But no, I feel you. Like he could easily knock him out. Like I don't disagree with anything there. Jan is way too passive as well. Yeah, that's kind of that's what Sin MMA said. I agree, and I just feel like he doesn't have the offense to really just take over, and I just don't feel like he can win 3 of the 5 rounds. And the funny thing is, in that first fight, still a long time ago, but Corey actually outlanded him on the distance strikes as well. So 26-22, I think it was. Any totals you like tonight? I see a lot of decisions, but most lines are juiced. I like Holtzman decision, Corey decision. What do you think? I like Corey decision. I forget what the line's at, but I remember it was kind of big plus money, like plus 180. I think I saw it at one point, and if it's still there, like I definitely like that because I think Jan has good guard retention and is overall just a tough, durable guy. So, yeah, like I could totally see that. That KO over Rockhold means nothing to me. Yeah, I mean, it's just a KO. Like it doesn't like mean anything. It's just kind of whatever to me. That's the way I see it. And I'm just more focused on Anderson's durability because I think you just have to really pay attention to someone's durability whenever you're looking at the chances of them getting knocked out. And I feel like Anderson isn't like he doesn't have the best chin. But that OSP head kick was ridiculous, and he's really, I don't know. He's been hurt a few times, but it kind of just, I don't think he has the worst chin in the world either. He has a good enough chin for me to think that he can stay safe the majority of the time going against Jan. Especially because I just feel like Jan will eventually get tired out from the wrestling, and so the KO path is probably narrow. I'm taking some real underdogs to win tomorrow. Nice, man. I hope you cash on that. I'm just waiting for official weigh-ins before I confirm my picks. I think they weighed in already. Like Borg missed weight, but he kind of always misses weight, so who cares? Marcelio said hi from Ecuador. Nice, man. Very cool. MMA KO, pound for pound, Borg pound for pound goat of missing weight. Yeah. So I don't like to try to always like relate stories of like me wrestling and stuff, just because like I don't want to talk about myself all that much. But like I grew up wrestling, and so you have to weigh in literally every tournament and every dual meet. So like I started when I was 4, so I've weighed in. Like you had weigh-ins when you were 4 years old, and I probably weighed in, I don't really know exactly, but hundreds of times I've weighed in. I've missed weight only 2 times ever, and it was in the same month. I was like 15, and I missed weight for districts, which means you have to get in the top 4 at districts in Missouri to make the state tournament. And so I was the number 1 seed going into districts. I missed weight, and so I wasn't able to go to the state tournament that year, which kind of sucked, but it was 2 times. And in a month, and it was just I was hitting a growth spurt when I was like 15 years old because I was like kind of a smaller guy, and I shot up and ended up being like 6 feet, and I just had trouble making weight. So it's kind of shocking that someone's missing weight that much, but you never know. It is what it is. Would you still hit Wood at minus 150? I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel about it. I've been thinking about it. I hit him earlier in the week. That's the one play I'm a little less confident in, and so it's hard for me to kind of answer that. Yeah, I don't really know. It's the one play I've kind of gotten a little less confident in as I've kind of thought about the fight a little more. I still like activity discrepancies, but I do think Dodson's a bit of a step up, so we'll see what happens. Talk J Bay. Please don't bet Wood. You might be right. Um, Man, I so want to take Daniel Rodriguez over Tim Means as a Sin MMA, but something's holding me back. Yeah, I looked. Daniel Rodriguez put up a ton of volume in that one fight on the Contender Series. Like he threw over like 250 strikes. So I tend to think like in a striking fight, shit can happen in this sport. Um, Striking fights, just a lot of outcomes can happen. They're high variance just because knockouts come into play a little more. Um, and I mean, we saw Thiago Alves, even though it was kind of a bad decision, beat Tim Means, or no, not Thiago Alves, who was it? Sergio Moraes beat Tim Means in Brazil with a beneficial decision. And he's not a great striker, but just kind of winging hooks. So you never know. Rodriguez could win. I feel like Rodriguez might sub Tim Means. I didn't go as heavy into that fight because generally it's hard for me to get a read on guys like Rodriguez in their kind of non-UFC fights. So I've looked into it a little bit, but not too heavy. So I can't comment on the ground game as much. But I'll take a few more questions and then I'm going to go and I think I'm going to try to do a live chat after the event tomorrow. Hopefully my bet's cash, but we'll see what happens. I'm never confident or like not confident in like if my bets are gonna hit. I just kind of just try to use the information I have before the fight. Like I don't always like to use hindsight after the event. I think you just have to use what you have before. But is there anything else? Let's see if there's been any line movement. We can check that out. Then I'm probably going to roll. Yeah, a lot of the fights have kind of just been jumping all over the place. So who knows what's going to happen? Looks like there's two-way action on a lot of fights. Do you think Borg missing weight helps him in this fight because he didn't really seem to try to get all the way down with that extra hour? I don't really know. It's hard to know. Like, I really have no idea. So I don't usually focus on things like that because I feel like, who is it, Sherman? Sure, I feel like you and I could both agree that we really, it could hurt him. It could not, but we have no idea at all. So it's hard. So, like, why waste our time kind of thinking about it, Because it just kind of is what it is. Like, we've seen, like, Cynthia Calvillo, I played her against Baltelio, like, a couple years ago, and she looked awful at weigh-ins, and then the line went in Baltelio's favor, and then Calvillo looked completely fine. And I feel like him not going down, I think Borg was 148, then, like, an hour later, he was 148 again, which makes me think he didn't hydrate up because he was still low, which makes me think he probably tried to cut the weight and it just wasn't coming off, but who knows? Like, I really have no idea. Who do you like DraftKings wise? I'm not a huge DraftKings guy. I'm sure Merab is pretty highly owned, but the reason I like him is because I know takedowns mean a lot. And I do think because I do expect Kenny's get-ups to working a lot, I feel like there will be a ton of opportunities for Merab to get takedowns. So I could honestly see him getting in like 10 takedowns in this fight. I think it's very, very possible that he does that. So I could see that. But I'm just not like I pay attention to DraftKings more to monitor the numbers, not really to play. Like, I don't really play it all that much, but I'm familiar with the salaries and everything, but I'm not a DraftKings guy. It's just not what I do. It's high elevation and whatnot that might be bad for Borg's cardio. It could be, but Borg's never really gassed before, so I expect his cardio to probably be okay, but we'll see what happens. Like, he missed weight against Casey Kenny and his cardio looked really good, so who knows. And I do think Borg trains in New Mexico. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he does, so I'm sure he's used to it. But cool, man. That's all I really have, and I'm gonna roll. But if you have any more questions or anything, just hit me up on Twitter or comment below. And thanks so much. This is like probably the most people I've kind of had in here. Um, and I'll try to do a live chat after the event tomorrow. And I'm always going to do these Friday before the fight, kind of after the weigh-in, just because it's fun interacting with you all. But thank you so much, and we'll do this again soon. Thank you, guys. And thanks to everyone who's saying bye. See you guys for sure. You guys are awesome. Thank you.